amazing?
Yeah.
10 out of 8. Love God. Tasted like peanuts. 10 out of 10. Dates.
10 out of 8.
10 out of 8. Peanuts and dates. What up? It's Garage Gym Homie, and today we are talking about how to stop doing drugs, man. How to stop doing crystal meth, how to stop doing heroin, and maybe I can give you some info that you're not used to hearing. A lot of people are lost out there, man. It's a sick disease, and it's a bad illness, and too many people are gone from it in my life. And so I hope to use this little platform I have to be a light to the world. Is it worth it? Before we get into this here, please click the subscribe button. I got content coming out all the dang time for you, man. So click subscribe and let's get into this, man. Just wanted to make a quick video, man, to give you some love and some information. Some stuff that I didn't know, man. I want to talk about it. A lot of people have gone in and out of rehabs. A lot of people have gone in and out of 12-step meetings, AA meetings, and they're still lost, man. They're still misguided, and there's a lot of bad information out there. So you have Garage Gym Homie, man, to give you some good info. I'm 11 years sober from everything, except pre-workout. But everything else, man. No, for real, though. Heroin, crystal meth, Xanax, marijuana. I used to do it all, homie, and I was a diehard. I'm going to tell you this. Out of the year, 20 rehabs I've been to, 20 arrests, county jails in 3 states, 2 different state prisons, all the people I ran with from age 14 when I started doing drugs till 27 when I got sober, I'm the worst addict I knew. Nobody was worse off than me that I knew, man. So if I can get sober, anybody can get sober. So I'm going to tell you the first way for you to get off drugs, man. And this might seem obvious, but to a lot of people it's not. It starts with a decision. That's what it starts with, man. An addict has to have 2 things in his life to happen in order to be sober. 2 things I have to ask myself. Am I ready to be done for good? And am I willing to do whatever it takes? Anything. Am I ready to be done for good and willing to do whatever it takes? And I was, man. I was. Every single bit of growth that's taken place in my life, from stopping doing drugs, stopping mistreating women, stopping watching porn, stopping masturbating, stopping swearing, all the growth that I've done started with a decision. When I stopped doing drugs, there was a decision initially that I said, I'm done for good. We're so used to hearing in meetings all these sayings like, one day at a time, easy does it. Oh, I'll stay sober today, but maybe tomorrow I'll get high. There can't be any more of that. We have to have a firm decision that we are done for good and we are willing to do whatever it takes. When I say one day at a time, a couple things I'm doing. Number one, I'm giving this idea that I'm struggling just to get through one more day. One day at a time, I'm struggling just to get through one more day. One day at a time, look at this struggle. I'm going to tell you right now, and this might be unbelievable for you if you're watching this and you're struggling, you're in the grips of an addiction. Sobriety is not a struggle. It's a gift. And I'm going to tell you how to get to that gift. You do not have to struggle. I went through 20 rehabs, man, and I always heard that this is going to be a lifelong battle. That for the rest of my life, I'm going to be battling to stay sober. It's tough. It's a struggle. That's not my experience, man. 11 years I've been sober, and in almost 11 years, I hadn't had a thought or feeling to drink or get high since 2 weeks after I got sober, when I made a contract that I was going to follow through with the 12 steps. Now, I'm going to tell you this. That sounds crazy. I couldn't go freaking 10 hours without obsessing about heroin and crystal meth. Heroin mostly. Couldn't go 10 hours. So to think I could go over 10 years without ever having a thought or feeling, that was beyond anything I could comprehend. I couldn't understand that. and that obsession has just been lifted from me. So you got to know. So now the first thing is making a decision. The second thing is you have to know that you can get well. You have to know you can recover. That's why I bring you here this message of hope today. You can have the experience I did, where that obsession can be lifted from you, and it's not this lifelong battle to stay sober. You think staying sober is hard? That's nothing. Staying sober is easy. Getting high was hard. That was the battle. My life was miserable getting high. That was the struggle. Staying sober, this is every day I wake up and I'm excited, fired up. I have passions in my life. I have this built up life of the most amazing things. I have family. I have all this stuff. And that came with the journey that I went on, man. That's not because I'm special or anything like that. That's right there for any one of you. So you got to know first, ready to be done for good, not that one day at a time. So this idea we give when we say one day at a time, easy to one day at a time, we're continuing to pound into ourselves that we're struggling. Number two, the other problem with one day at a time, it's giving our head an angle to destroy us. When I say one day at a time, I'm feeding my head, you know what, I'll stay sober today. Tomorrow I'll decide, and I'll leave this back door open for myself. Our head wants to do anything it can to destroy us. My addiction, my disease, it centers in my mind. This thing right here is what's untreated. This thing right here is crazy. My head is nuts. Any real addict or alcoholic watching this will be able to relate on how noisy this is. This right here wants to destroy me. It doesn't want me to say I'm done for good. It wants to do anything it can to keep me getting high, so we have to watch for that. That's it. So the first thing, it starts with the decision. I'm done for good, and I am willing to do whatever it takes. Now, I know I can get well. I know I can recover from this illness. I know that I don't have to be struggling the rest of my life, which makes it worth it. If I thought the rest of my life was going to be miserable, just like getting high was miserable, then I have no reason to stay sober. I have to know that sobriety is a gift, the biggest gift that I've ever received. And it's a gift that's right there for you too. Now, how do you stay sober? The answer I have for you is to find somebody, and I am willing to do this for anybody. Myself, and if it's not me, you find somebody in person who will take you through the 12 steps out of the AA book immediately. The answer, my salvation, the reason I've recovered today was because somebody offered to sponsor me. They didn't wait around for me to raise my hand at some meeting and ask for a sponsor. They approached me and they said, I'm going to sponsor you. And they took me through the book immediately. I'm never going to stand here in front of you and say the 12 steps are the only way to stay sober. I believe deep down in my heart that spirituality is the way for an addict or alcoholic to stay sober. A life of spirituality and spiritual growth. God is the only way to stay sober. And if you're hearing that and you're saying, well, I'm not willing to do that. I don't believe in God. I'm not willing to talk about higher power, spirituality, or anything like that. You're not miserable enough. Because that's like that's like you're in a burning house. You're on fire. And you're going to tell me how to put you out. If you're on fire and you're in a burning house, you're going to get put out any way possible. So you got to let that stuff go, man. You got to be willing to do it. It's like, yeah, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm ready to be done for good. But as soon as we start talking about God or spirituality, oh, I'm out. Now, where'd that willingness go? Now I'm not willing anymore. The other way to stay sober, not the other way, part of this, is knowing the difference between AA meetings and AA. A lot of people have come to me and they say, AA doesn't work. I say, well, what do you mean it doesn't work? They say, oh, I tried AA, it didn't work. I'm going to tell you, I've sponsored over 500 addicts and alcoholics, and that is not my experience. When I always find out that AA doesn't work, I say, well, what'd you do? They said, I went to meetings. Well, that's not AA. That's AA meetings. AA is a 12-step program out of the book. You have to know the difference, and this is where there's a lot of bad information out there. AA is a book. And if you haven't gone through the 12 steps as it's written in the book, then you haven't done AA. You've just sat at AA meetings. You cannot sit at a meeting for an hour a day and think that somehow you're going to change. That doesn't change who you are deep down inside. That's just sitting there talking for an hour. You can do that. Oh, that's my therapy. Oh, you can do that anywhere. Talk for an hour. That doesn't change who we are inside. Anytime somebody tells me AA doesn't work, I always dig more and I find out they just went to meetings. They never followed through with all 12 steps out of the book as it's written with somebody who's been through the book, exactly as it's written out of the book. If you haven't done that, you can't come to me and say AA doesn't work. Again, I'm not saying AA is the only way, but I know it's the sure-proof way, the 12 steps out of the AA book. Not the NA book, not any other book, the AA book, the original text. I have never seen it fail, never, from somebody who's gone through the 12 steps exactly as it's written in the book. I've sponsored 500 or more addicts or alcoholics. My whole life has been about, since sobriety, in 11 years, speaking at treatment centers, giving meetings all around, giving open talks at meetings all around Michigan, at rehabs, sponsoring people. I have never seen somebody go through the 12 steps as it's written and come back and say, that didn't work. Never seen it. As I said, AA is just a perfect blueprint, that 12 steps to spirituality for how to recover from this disease. But if you can get to that from another way, if you have another avenue of spirituality, by all means, go for it. You're never going to hear me say AA is the only way. To me, it's the only way I can prescribe that I know 100% this will work if you're a real addict or alcoholic and you're capable of following instructions. So yeah, so that's the number one thing, is that you make a decision. You're ready to be done for good, and you're willing to do whatever it takes. The next thing is finding somebody to take you through those steps immediately and knowing that you can get well. You can. This is not a lifelong struggle. This does not have to be. This is a gift, and you have to know that. And then the last thing is knowing that sitting at meetings is not the answer. That does not treat the illness. That's a great part of it, because I can go and talk about the treatment for the illness. I can talk about the steps. I can be there and be available to people so I can be a maximum service to them and help them. But going to meetings alone does not treat the monster in my head that's destroying me, the addiction. The addiction has nothing to do with drugs or alcohol, very little. Once you stop doing drugs and alcohol, you go to a detox for a few days, this thing is still nuts and untreated. The 12 steps are the way, and you need to find somebody to take you through the book immediately, because every minute that you wait to go through the book and to treat this illness and to go through those steps or find that spiritual avenue that works, your head is giving you a chance to talk your way out of it and say, yo, dude, just go sit at meetings, man. That's a meeting makers make it, all that nonsense. Sit at meetings, hang out for a while, take your time, easy does it, one day at a time, all that nonsense they say. This is a deadly illness, and I don't have the luxury to sit around and wait to treat it. This is freaking life or death now. I have to treat this thing now. I can't go to sit at some meetings for an hour and talk. Oh, this is my therapy. I'm going to talk and throw $1 in the basket, but I'm not really going to put blood, sweat, and tears into working these steps and then moving forward and helping other people. All about me, me, me. You want to recover from this illness, you have to do what the people who wrote the book did. The first 100 people who recovered got together and they wrote that book, the AA Big Book, sharing their experience so that you can have an exact how-to guide so you too can recover. Okay? I've given it to you straight. Any one of you are welcome to hit me in the email, garagegymhomie@gmail.com. I would be honored to sponsor you and take you through it. But find somebody who's by the book, not their own way. If they're not doing it from the book, oh, I have these worksheets, any of this. If something seems like it's veering from the book, do not do it. You can't bake a cake and change the instructions on the box and think the cake's gonna come out looking like the picture on the box. Oh, I'm gonna add this ingredient and change that because I'm so arrogant, I freaking know better than the book because it was written a long time ago. I've never seen it fail going through it exactly as written by the book. Find somebody who's by the book to the T. If they're not, I would not trust it. I'm giving it to you straight. God bless all of you. Together, hit the dang like button. Let me know what you think. You can hate on it, but I got 11 years, man, where this thing has not destroyed me. Just because, I mean, I'll tell you this. The obsession's been removed, but I have to constantly treat my head. I still deal with fear, anger, selfishness, dishonesty. But the obsession to drink or get high hasn't been there in 11 years. And that's the power of the steps. God bless all you, man. I'm out.